everyone. In today's video, we will see how to use type constraints in Terraform. Let's get started. So there are two types of type constraints, which is primitive type and we have complex types. So in primitive type, as you all know, if you are already aware of programming, any kind of programming language, there are three primitive types, which is accepted by Terraform, which are strings, number, and bool. So these are very important when if you are going for a certification, Terraform certification, or if you actually want to use in your work. And next important type is complex types. In complex types, there are two types again. There are subtypes, which are collections, collection type, and structural type. So these two types also have their own subcategories. So the collection types are nothing but list, map, and set. We will look into what are their users, how to use them, where to use them, all those things in a while. Now we have structural type. In structural type, we have objects, object, and tuple. So one important difference between the collection type and object type is always remember the collection type is something which can store multiple values of a similar type, right? Whereas structural type is something which can be declared, which can store values with a different type. Again, there are a few rules and all for each and every type. I will go in detail how to in the actual hands-on. So let's move on to Visual Studio Code. For this tutorial, I will be using VS Code. So let's assume I want to create, firstly, I want to create a folder for this lecture. I will name it as lecture 5. Okay. And in this lecture 5, I will create a new folder called Terraform, or I will say variables or type constraints, type underscore constraints. Now under this type constraints folder, I'll create a new file called main.tf. And always remember, main.tf is an optional. You can name it as whatever you want, but main is just a standard naming convention. So you can use whatever it is. So now first you need to have a Terraform block. So I'll just copy it from any of my existing thing, not this. I can go with somewhat this one. Yeah, I have a Terraform block here. I'll just copy this block. So this is my sample Terraform block. So remember one thing, for testing these variables and all, you don't really need to provision any kind of infrastructure on any of the cloud providers. You can just use Terraform console. I'll also show that how to test your type constraints on Terraform console. But before that, as in the real time, we basically use Terraform config file. So let's see over there first. So let's assume starting with the primitive types, right? Primitive types, we have three types, right? One is string. The other one is a list, sorry, a string, number, and what is that? Bool. So string is nothing but if you want to store some kind of a name or some kind of a name of a VM or whatever it is, which is a string, you can use string primitive type. If it is a number, you need to use a number primitive type. And if you just want to store true or false, you just need to go for bool. So let's see an example. Let's assume I have a variable. Let's say the name var1. Okay. In this, I want to store a name. Let it be something like, and again, every variable can have a default value or not. I will just give a type, and here I can make it a string. So type is nothing but which says what type of value can be stored. And here you can define a value, which is, I can give something like tutorials, right? So this is my variable and I want to display it. So I can give the same name and value. I'll refer this value var.var1. So now I want to see how what exactly it will display. So that I'll just go open the internal terminal. Not in this way. I will right click on this one I'll open an integrated terminal, and then I will, okay, we are in type constraint, so I'll just issue Terraform init. So once I issue Terraform init, it will try to initialize the directory and download all the required Terraform version and plugin. So one thing is actually we do not need this provider. So I can delete it. Give me a second. Let's see. Yeah. So I will remove this provider, which is not at all required because we are not using any functionality of. Okay, we are good now. So now let's issue Terraform init. One more time. Let's just to be sure. Now let's do a Terraform apply. So this shows, if you see here, our output is tutorials. Let's assume I am giving a number here by mistake. You can see it still works, but if you see these double quotes, what happens is when you declare it as string, it will convert that value or number directly into a string format. Let's assume you have given, okay, you have given a number here. And if you try to run it, if you see now, you lost those double quotes and it is considering it as a value. So that is a major difference. Always remember, even if you give string and give a number, it will be automatically converted to a string. And one more important things regarding this variables is by default, it will decide what type it is. So let's assume I comment this type here. And if I try to execute this one, it will automatically, Terraform has a capability. Obviously, it is using Go in the backend. So it will decide, it will determine what kind of type it is, whether it is a number, string, or ball. Okay, let's keep it as string. And give some name as reals. That's fine. Now let's assume I want to define Boolean. So for Boolean is nothing but which accepts only true or false. So let's assume I am giving a true here. Let's see what exactly this will be considered because I'm not giving a type. Terraform has a capability to determine whether that is a bool or a number or a string. So now I'll just try to var.var2. So now if you see, it already determined that it is a Boolean. You can also give the type here manually if you want when that works. The major use of the types will come when you are trying to use the collection or structural types. So we will see how exactly these primitive types will be useful in that demo. Okay, so this is how you need to use. Even if I execute this one more time, it should give the same error. Oh, wait, type is not expected here. Oh, sorry, I'm giving this in a wrong location. So you should give under var. So even if I execute it here, it will give you the same. var1 is 1, var2 is true. So one important thing before going to the next topic, let's assume I will try to make it a number. So Terraform should detect it and throw an error because tutorial can't be a number, right? So it will throw an error saying, sorry for wrong spelling. So it will say the default value is not compatible with variable type constraint, a number is required. So that is what Terraform has a capability to identify what type it is. It will automatically determine what type if you don't manually mention it and all. So this is what it is. So this is what primitive types are. So now let's look into what was the next topic? Complex types, right? Let's write a small comment here just for our understanding. Let's start with collection types. Okay, this is very important topic if you're going for an Terraform certification. So let's assume user want to store multiple phone numbers or multiple EC2 instance IDs in a list. So in that case, you need to define a list, right? So I'll say list1, I'll declare a variable list1 and type is equal to list. So there are a few rules with the list. The list is more flexible. We'll look into that. And type is equal to list and default is equal to. So here, there are two ways of defining. Either you can go do this in a curly brackets, not curly, circular brackets. And obviously, you should always have the square brackets if you're going for any kind of collection type, whether it can be list. I forgot to write that. We have list, we have map, we have set, right? So set and list are a bit similar, map is a bit different. So let's start with the list. So always remember all these three types need square brackets. Without that, it won't work. So let's assume I want to define 5 members, okay, whether it can be a string or whatever it is. I have 5 numbers here, and you can have duplicate numbers. There is no difference. That is a beauty of list. You can have duplicate elements. It will not throw any error if you even if you have duplicate elements in the list. So now I'll try to do an output, and I will just say list1 itself, and I will do a value, and I'll print this out. Okay, so now this is a list. So now let's try applying this. So now you can see there's a small message which says toList, and it is written in the list. Now let's assume this can also be written in a string as well. So that can be done by string. Oh, sorry, not string. I'll just write some names here: Ram, Ramesh, Peter, and Dan. So we have 4 people, and this is all. I mean, basically, this is a list which contains all strings. So, so now if I execute this, the Terraform has capability to determine what type it is, and it will just list. It will accept whatever the type it is. Let's assume I am passing 1 here, which is a number. And if I try to run it, it will still automatically convert that 1 to a string. Let's assume there is a scenario where you want to restrict the list to have only strings. So you just need to add circular brackets after the list under the type and give the specific type you want list to accept. Okay, I will only accept strings in here. So you just need to click here, and still it is converting. Okay, so even if you mention the string, so it is automatically converting to string. So let's assume I will make a number here. What will happen? Let's see. So it will throw an error now, similar to how we have seen here, where we have tried to convert this tutorial accepting number here, right? As of now, it is number. So how this will throw an error if I mention number here. Similarly, the list also determines it can't convert that number to a string. Obviously, Ramesh can't be a number, right? Or Ram or Peter, those are strings. They can't be converted to a number. So that is what it is. Always remember, if you are restricting with a number, it will always consider it as a number. Let's try with bool. I'm not really sure if bool works. I never tried bool. Yeah, even boolean won't work with strings and all. Obviously, that is expected. Let's make it true, false, and true. Hope this will work. TRUE. Sorry for that. Making a lot of typos. Yeah, if you want to accept booleans, only true and false, you can give this. Let's assume I'm making 1 here. It should throw error. If it won't, that's shocking. Okay, that's true. It won't. It will throw error saying that 1 can't be a boolean, right? That's obvious. So that is what that is how you need to use list. And always you see one important thing. Let's see whether uh, list has a capability to sort stuff and all. Okay, I'll give something in a jumbled format, and I will make this a list. And if I try to run it, no, it is not automatically sorting, but there are a couple of functions, inbuilt functions in Terraform, which can be used for sorting. We will see that in the next lecture and all. And now let's move on to the next topic, which is set. So set is something which accepts a specific, only a specific, sorry, it will accept, it is similar to list, but it won't accept duplicates. Let's see that. So let's assume I have a set here, and it should also be having the same syntax, and you can also use it or won't use it, doesn't matter. So let's assume the same, or else I will do like this 6667, and I'll write 2 8s here, and I'll try to print it out, and I will try to comment this, and I'll see output. I'll say set1 type is equal, no type, sorry, value is equal to var dot set1. So this is what it is. Now I'll try to run it. Sorry, yeah. So if you see, the set type construct requires 1 argument specifying the element type. So always remember, set requires, it will only accept 1 data type at once. For example, if list is something which you can, no matter what you give over there, whether you give a string or number or not give anything, Terraform will detect it. List will detect it what kind, and it will convert. By default, it will convert everything to string. Whereas set is something where you need to mandatorily give a type. For example, here I will give string, and let's see what it will do. Okay. So it will convert all these values to string, all these values to string. So let's assume a scenario. And one thing you might have observed here, most important thing, here you have 5 6 7 8 8. Here you only have 5 6 7 8. So it will remove all the duplicates. That is one feature. Always remember, there can be a question about it as well. And you should for sure declare and mention what type should be accepted. Okay, now let's assume, and the other vice versa is similar. Let's assume I have similar kind of names here. I mean to say strings. And if I try to save it, and if I run, it works. Awesome. What if I make a number here? It should throw error for sure. So if you see, it threw an error saying that number is required. So always remember, for set, it's mandatory to mention the type. And again, if I try to mention a number here, still, oh, sorry, not number. I think I'm doing a vice versa. That's true. So if for that to work, I need to make this to number. And again, duplicacy, right? I want to show duplicacy. If I say RAM here, and if I say string, and if I run it, it will remove the extra RAM from there. So that is what it is. That is how set works. Now let's quickly move on to the next type, which is the map. This is the final type in the collection. So again, define, I'll just copy the same thing, or else that's fine. I will write it quickly. And this can be a map type, and map is nothing but something in which you need to mention key value pair. For example, name is equal to, name will be the key, and the value of that name is the name of a person, can be a name of the person, whatever it is based on your requirement. So remember, it is more like a key value pair, right? I can quickly write here key slash value pair. So here type map and default. The default, again, this also accepts same. No, it won't accept the same square brackets. You should give map in a curly brackets. Always remember, I might have mistakenly said in the beginning of the video that even map accepts square brackets. No, it's not. You should mention curly brackets. So in this curly brackets, you need to give key and value pair. Phone number is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now I'll try to do a quick output map, and here I will say value. Try to print it out. Let's see if it works, or even map. Okay, awesome, it's working. So again, remember, map is something which do not need a declaration and all, but always remember, it will only accept, everything should be of the same type. You can't have some kind of a number at one. For example, let's see another example, like this is number. It automatically converts that to a string. And here you can only pass one type. You can't pass multiple types like this. You can only pass one type. Remember that. If I give string, it will consider. If I give number here, it gonna fail, saying that the value is not compatible with the variable type. Constraint number is required. So in here, you can write something like 1, 2, 1 is equal to 1, 2 is equal to 20, whatever it is. It should work. So always this is considered as string, whether you go for a number or what, number or string, and followed by this is a number. As you have mentioned number, all the keys will be considered as a number. Let's try something like this, right? Will it accept like this or 2 here? No, it won't. So it will only accept 1 and only 1. And it can be either string, number, or even bool it will accept, I guess. Let's try bool. Okay, so let's say bool and true, false. So if you say number now, it's gonna fail. Obviously, true and false can't be a number. It will throw an error. So that is how maps can be used. You should declare this basically represents a value type. Whatever the value you are passing, that type will be accepted by the map, and it is optional. But for set, it is mandatory. Remember that difference. And that concludes collection types. Now comes most important type, which is structural types. So there are two types in structural types. One is object and followed by tuple. So now let's start with object. So I will go with object first because map and object are more relevant. So I'll just copy the same code which is written here just to save some time. Okay, so this is object key value pair. When object accepts key value pair, I'll say object 1. And here again, I need to say object. So wait, let me uncomment this first. Sorry for that. Okay. so that we can have proper coloring and all. Okay, now the one important major difference between map and object is in map passing a type is optional, and it will only accept one type at a time. For example, if I mention number, all the values should be numbers, right? Only this should be number, this should be number. If I give bool, all the values should be bool. If I give string, all the values will be string, even, right? Whereas when it comes to object, it's more flexible. You can mention what which key will accept what kind of value. For example, in my case, let's change this for better naming convention. Let's change like this. So I will have name key which accepts string, comma, phone number which accepts bool. Wait a second. Am I making some mistake? Hold on. I have tested it somewhere before. Let me check. It should accept. Let's check the documentation. So here is a documentation you can refer. Under structural types, we have objects. We should give a key. Okay. One major mistake what I'm doing is the way I'm declaring it. It won't accept this. You should give curly brackets over there. While even declaring it, yeah, like this it should be. Okay, now it should work. So now let's see. We have name is equal to string, phone number is equal to number. It's not bool. Okay, now let's assume this is what it is more flexible. Each key I can define different data type. Okay, so always remember key should match what exactly you're passing. That is one kind of a limitation or restriction. You should mention the key while you're declaring it in the type. So now I'll try to print this object. Object one. 1 second, what happened? Required. Oh, sorry. See, I am passing Boolean here. That's the reason it threw an error. I need to pass some number, something like this. And work. I want to try something else. What if I pass this number in a string? Will it convert it? Yeah, Terraform has a capability to convert this string which is given, I mean, the number which is given in double quote to number or integer. So this is a major difference between map and object. This basically object is basically used in the scenarios where you really want to restrict what kind of value user can pass to that object or to specific key. Like the phone number will only accept numbers. You can't pass some kind of a string or a name to that phone number key. So in those scenarios, this is very useful and this is very important. So make sure you understand these two concepts, the differences between map and object. Now comes tuples. Tuples are quite similar with the list and set. So I'll say tuple one. Let's say not default, sorry. It should be type and it should be default value. This also will accept. I will show the major difference. What is the difference between tuple and all? Sorry, my comma was not working. Right. Okay, let's assume I have this coded like this, tuple one, and value is var.tuple1. So we have tuple here. We are trying to print. We are passing only values. And again, remember, tuple, set, and list all should be declared inside the square brackets. Map and objects should be declared in the curly brackets or declared in the curly brackets, right? So now let's see, let's apply this and see what will happen. So it says tuple type construct required one argument. So always remember the structural types. For structural types, it's mandatory to pass a data type, at least one, right? So for this one, as I have how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So I need to, I think even one works. Let's try passing one and see if it works. So it says tuple requires total number of variables. I'll just reduce number of variables here. Let's make number. So if you see it worked. So what exactly tuple is expecting is it will accept different kinds of data types at once. So the list can contain a string, number, or a boolean at the same time. Whereas list, it won't accept all different kinds at the same time, nor the set will accept all different kinds at the same time. Tuple is the only one which can accept which is more structural. You can change its structure. That's the reason it is under the category of structural type, similar with the object. Whereas collection, list, map, and set are something which comes under the collection of same kind of items. You can remember that if you understand the meaning of it, right? Uh, so that's what default is equal to 1 comma 6, which says this. So let's assume I want to pass a string now. So for that, I need to declare a string, and I need to say this Ramesh or something, Peter, whatever it is, right? I'll try to trigger it. So it will accept multiple things. Whereas number, if I give number here, it's gonna fail, saying that the default value is not compatible with variable type constraint, number is required. So this is how it works. The same case, if you are, it will throw similar kind of errors if you actually use if you have mistakenly coded something wrong in the while declaring a tuple. Like if you're passing a string but you have declared a number, then you will see similar kind of error. So always remember, it will accept the exact type, whatever you have declared in your declaration. So these are the major things you need to know about type constraints, different kinds of type constraints, and these are the subtypes and different kinds of collection, different types of subtypes inside each and every type, right? For example, in our case, these are the complex types. Before that, we have seen primitive types, right? So if you know this, I think this will be more than enough for cracking any kind of question, either in your Terraform Associate exam, or majorly you won't be going more deep even in your real-time use cases, right? So that's it for this lecture. Thanks for listening. See you in the next lecture. Bye-bye.